Hello, everyone. It is Micha Green, DC and digital content editor, and I'm really excited to be chatting with Lawrence Brownlee today about so much. Uh, so much that's going on in his life, but in particular about Come Home, which is a celebration of return with the Kennedy Center's Washington National Opera. I, for one, am really excited about this celebration of return and live music performances and celebrations. And this particular celebration and performance is very important because it also is a celebration of a great American life of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So we have a lot to talk about. I think that's fair to say that we have a whole lot to talk about today. So first of all, Lawrence, how are you doing? How is life for you? We're still in the middle of a pandemic, which is crazy to say, but how are you doing?
Thank you, Misha. It's great to be with you today. I really am excited to be here, and I'm doing well. Like you said, you talked about Come Home. It is nice to be back in the theater, and I've had a few things happen since the pandemic has seemed to be. We seem to be going in a better direction with it. But coming home to Washington D.C. in this area, I have so many people who've been supportive of me, who've really shown me great kindness and given me opportunities for me to hone my craft. And so to be able to share my love for music with all those people coming back to the Kennedy Center, which I love, I am so looking forward to this time for these concerts coming up.
Well, it's so good to hear you say that part of what's so exciting is that you're sharing with other people. I think that a lot of people don't understand sort of the give and take that happens in live theater and in live performances. And so I know that this past year and a half has had to be tough for you. How have you been able to sort of use your muscle and continue to work on your craft as the operatic tenor that you are during this time?
It is hard. And you yourself being a performer and being, in front of people all the time, you know that there is a synergy. There's an energy that you get from the people. And for me, nothing replaces live theater. Nothing does. And so to be in that space and to share this communal appreciation of art, it does something to me. And I know for me, I never get on the stage thinking about trying to be perfect. I try to think about creating special moments. And so those are the things that linger. Perfection for me, especially in an art form, is not quantifiable. You can't say, "Oh, that was perfect," because that performance for somebody else is lackluster, But it's about trying to touch someone's heart. And so for me, in this pandemic, we were on a diet, in a sense of being able to have that and not, you suffer from not having. You're like malnourished in a sense. And so to be able to be back in a space now where people just are clamoring, and I've seen it in other places, clamoring to just experience the production of live art in a place that it was intended, it means so much to me. And so I am happy that we're doing this. I'm happy that we're coming back. I'm excited. I'm like bursting at the seams, to get on stage, because I just know the appreciation that I expect the people will have for what my colleagues and what we're, the orchestra and everyone else is doing will be greatly appreciated.
I am also bursting at my seams. I have to tell everybody I get to see Lawrence perform as well as a great cast of other classical performers on Saturday, November 6th. But all of you all can do the same. The show runs from the 6th through the 14th at the Kennedy Center. But tell us about Come Home. What can we expect in this homecoming performance, if you will?
It's kind of a potpourri of some of the great hits, but also some things that are a bit more rare. And so I'm performing one new piece that I've never performed before. So it'll be the debut of a piece for me. But again, hearing my wonderful colleagues, and they are singing it down. They are really doing a great job. And so all of them are bringing their unique experiences and their energy. It provides for a wonderful, wonderful evening of music. And also, as you mentioned before, celebrating a tremendous, tremendous life that we lost not long ago. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was, I considered, a friend of mine, and we've spent time over the years, and of course, getting the chance to share the stage with her at Washington National Opera. This is one of many opportunities that I had to spend time with Justice Ginsburg, because she loved music and art so much. We talked about many things. I got a chance to meet her late husband, and so this is meaningful to me because I was involved in her celebration of life before, and just to be able to appreciate her for her contributions to society and to law and to women's rights, but also to the arts, it means a lot to me.
You know, I'm so happy you shared Justice Ginsburg's appreciation of the arts and how involved she was. Earlier this year, we got to talk to Janae Bridges, another wonderful opera singer who also said that she had the honor of performing for Justice Ginsburg and getting a chance to speak with her and know her. And, you know, I just think that's so cool. A lot of people knew her obviously for her championing of human rights and women's rights in a major way as a Supreme Court justice, and her sort of takes no prisoners attitude. However, you know, I don't think people got to the masses, if you will, really got to know how much of an arts appreciator she was. And so that's such a great anecdote that you shared. And of course, sorry for your loss. But of course, it was also just such, her loss was so important in the magnitude and to American society. And so I'm so happy that the Kennedy Center, which is a national opera house and venue, gets to celebrate her life in this way. Congratulations on that and being a part of that. I want to shout out all the people who are tuning in. Thank you for that. We see you, Bobby. We see you, Mike Green, he says Medellin is tuned in, and I have to say that's my daddy. So hi, Dad. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really, really appreciate it. And again, if you guys have any questions or comments, go ahead and drop it in the comments section, and hopefully Lawrence and I will get a chance to get to it before we wrap up. Now, I told you I spoke to Janae, and I've spoken to a couple other classical musicians during this time, and they've talked about how the pandemic and the concurrent Black Lives Matter movement that happened during this time allowed for opera singers and classical musicians of all sorts to sort of take a step back and look at the place of people of color in the world of classical music. And I wondered how you have been at all involved in this conversation, what you think about this conversation, and is there people of color in classical music?
You know, the time during this pandemic gave me an opportunity, like so many other people. You spoke of Janae, who I asked her. She's like my little sister. We're very, very close. But her and many of the other voices, if you want to call the leading voices for African Americans in classical music and opera specifically, we got an opportunity to lend our voices to a conversation that was long overdue. And at this point in my career, I've been in the career but for 20 plus years. A lot of the people who are the administrators and the people that are calling the shots are our friends from university or people we've performed with that are now in administrative positions. They have wanted to take this conversation for a long time, but it was the right time. You know, the George Floyd thing was kind of like the catalyst for all of this stuff, and it forced us, because we were in the middle of a pandemic, to sit still and see all this. a lot of people reached out to me and said, oh my gosh, I've heard people talk about this for the longest time, but I see. And to have that conversation and to be one of the ones that has been eager and considered it a responsibility to discuss these things, it was very important to me. I've taken parts in conversations, and I moderated a book club talking about racism, and I did some other things in social media just to discuss these issues that are very, very important to me. And so I was happy to do it. It needed to be had. I presented myself, and I still do present myself to have these conversations because it is important that we understand the inequity in society in general, but also the gross inequity in opera. And so I'm happy to say that we've seen some movement, and I'm challenging all of my friends to not make it something that has a short shelf life, but it just becomes the norm. That we think about equality, that we think about inviting more people in the room for the conversations and discussions. So it is just the norm. And so I'm happy to be a part of that. And I will be going forward.
That is awesome. And I'm so happy that you put it into perspective that it just needs to be the norm. It needs to be what we expect versus, you know, sort of being surprised and excited when we see people of color on stage, and particularly in classical music. Because I think that's sort of the experience when we get where it's like, oh, it's a brother. Oh, yes, sis, you know. And that's great, right?
It's like, yeah, we do this.
Yeah, yeah.
It should be just the norm.
It should be just the norm. And I think so much of that has to do with exposure and has to do with ensuring that young people know that they can do it as well. You know, I have to ask you, Lawrence, what was your sort of push into the world of performing? What made you realize that you could be a professional opera singer?
Well, it's funny because I grew up in the church tradition, and my father was the choir director at our church, and my mother was the soprano soloist, and they were very, very active in a. We had a huge music program, and so I'm one of six kids, and all of us were involved in music. But I played the instruments. I played the bass guitar, I played the drums, the electric guitar. I did all of those things, and my parents would force me to sing. So they said I had a voice. I was shy about it. But to be honest, it was when I was in high school that I became less shy. I got involved with a show choir, and then I was also in a group of guys singing. And the guys were like, hey, if you sing, girls will think you're cute. And so I was like, oh, they think you're cute, so let's sing a little bit. But the further I got into high school, I had a choir teacher that said, you know, there's something really unique about the color of your voice that I think is suitable for classical music. Now, I thought I was on the path to study law. You know, I had three sisters older than me, and one studied business, one studied medicine, one studied nursing. I was going to be the lawyer, then our family would be covered pretty much for all the things that are important in life. But I just had teachers who kept pushing me and saying, you need to pursue this classical music. And there haven't been a lot before you that have done it, but you have a special gift to do it. I started to believe it. I got some opportunities early on that I was singled out for my voice, and then I fell in love with it, and it is my passion and my hobby, and also my job. But the interesting thing, people think that you have to be some type of corny guy to like classical music, and that's the furthest thing from the truth. If I pick up my phone, all the different types of music that I have on it, it's such a varied collection of different styles of music. But also, you know, outside of that, I'm huge into fantasy football, and I'm huge into other things that are real guy things, that are macho things. If people think that opera's all like weird, it's not at all. And so I enjoy it. It's given me the opportunity to travel to 48 countries thus far in my life, and so it is the thing. Having that gift that someone else actually realized is the thing that pushed me into this field.
That is just such a great story and warms my heart and makes me give a huge shout out to arts teachers who push people in the direction that they see fit for them. that really warms my heart. As Lawrence said, folks out there, you don't have to be corny or weird to do to be in the arts and or classical music. You can still do your thing and appreciate all sorts of things, but
Mhm.
look at where it's taken him. 48 countries, performing for Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and building a personal relationship with a Supreme Court justice. I mean, come on now. You can't beat that, folks. You, you really can't beat that. So tell us what you would share for aspiring opera singers and performers. What's a little advice that you can give for them?
The thing that I've always thought about is find the thing that you do well and you do better than most people and focus on that. Um, some people try to be all things to all things, but I think if you can kind of like separate yourself and say, this is the thing that I do, and I feel like I want to just really lay the foundation and the groundwork so this can stand out. When I put myself amongst others who are doing this very specific thing, I think this will be give me an opportunity to stand out rather than trying to be this general cookie cutter type of thing. Find the thing that you do well and do it better than others. And believe in yourself. You know, someone told me a long time ago that I was born to do this thing. I believed it. And so have that self belief. Realize that it is you that needs to do the work, and make sure that everything you do is really making investments in your future.
You heard it first. Make sure getting your future do well better than others. That's, I think, advice that we can take in multiple fields, not just in the world of performance. And so I'm going to take that with me today as well, Lawrence, because I think it's really inspiring. Can you share with the people any upcoming performances or things we should be looking out for, other than, of course, Come Home at the Kennedy Center this coming week?
Well, I'm looking forward to the come home, and I have a lot of things that are happening in Europe this season. Actually, I'll be in Vienna, and Paris, and Rome, and Zurich, and all these various places. In the States, I probably won't be back until like April. I have some recitals. But if you're international travelers, please come to Vienna. I'll be at the Vienna Staatsoper, and then I'll be at the Zurich Opera House, and then I'll be at the Rome Opera House. But of course, taking my great love for music across the globe and involved in some other things as well, probably online. So if you want to follow some of the things I'm doing online, follow me there as well.
Yes, make sure you follow Lawrence for all the fabulous things he has going on. And yeah, I don't know how many folks are doing international traveling, but that's exactly why you got to follow him to keep up to, you know,
Come on, come
just
on.
in case you happen to be in Vienna. Or always wanted a trip to Vienna and wants to see your favorite performer, Lawrence Brownlee, perform on stage, then that's how you do it. But of course, also make sure you check out what's happening at the Kennedy Center to all those in the DMV, either always or just this weekend to November 14th. You might want to take a trip to the DMV and have some fun, and check out Come Home, a celebration of return at the Kennedy Center, also celebrating the great Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And it, like Lawrence said, it's a wonderful cast of performers who I know are going to bring some amazing heat to that stage. She said they were singing down, okay? And that means a lot coming from Lawrence Brownlee, okay? It means a whole lot. It really means a lot to us. The AFRO took the really appreciate it, Lawrence.
It's been nice to be with you today, Misha. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And thanks to all those tuning in. We appreciate it. As always, I say sharing is caring. So go ahead and share the stream. It'll be here as long as Facebook and YouTube exist. We know Facebook has had their little issues and in existence, but however,
Right.
it'll come back no matter what. So share
Right.
this stream and look for the article, which should be out no later than this Monday after I go see the performance live. But as you all know, as we plugged, Come Home, a celebration of return. This opens this Saturday at the Kennedy Center in Washington National Opera and closes November 14th. You don't want to miss it. Take care, everyone.